From challenging Jose Aldo to a long-awaited rematch to getting put in his place by his former rival, Conor McGregor is notorious for getting a lot of backlash for his opinions on social media. But now, it looks like Scarface has finally had enough. Recently, Conor called out Aldo to a fight, but the Brazilian didn't want anything to do with it. In fact, he decided to go on an expletive-ridden rant against his former rival. While talking to the press, Aldo remarked on how big of a mouth the Irishman has. He's always talking a lot of shit. Junior also reminded the people that Conor already has a scheduled fight, and instead of preparing for that, he's just fooling around, meddling in things that should be none of his business. That just makes me wonder, did something happen between these two? I mean, why the sudden hate out of nowhere? Maybe it had something to do with Conor turning down a rematch. You see, guys, these two UFC legends were supposed to fight once again after the events of UFC 194, but that never really happened. According to Junior, McGregor ducked out of that fight. He even mentioned it during his rant against the Notorious. Jose also told the former double champ to shut his mouth and reminded him how he ran out of their supposed rematch. Scarface also called Conor an a-hole and a among other things. McGregor was only calling him out because he has a fight booked, and he'd do anything to sell his fights. Aldo remarked that the call-out wasn't serious, it was just something that the Irish mad lad does to promote himself. As I said, Junior wasn't really holding back, and to be honest, nobody really understands the need for all this hatred, because Conor wasn't really even talking trash. You see, guys, all the UFC's Golden Boy did was that he sent out a tweet, and it wasn't even the kind of tweet that you know Conor would delete in a couple of minutes. Me and Aldo should box. That's all he said. So Aldo does seem to have kind of overreacted to this. But he does know his rival better than you and I ever would. There might be something behind the scenes that hasn't been revealed to the world yet. Right now, it's just all pure speculation, though. But I've got to admit, I'd love to see a boxing match between Aldo and Conor, and it seems like Jorge Masvidal is on board with the idea, too. Confused? Well, don't be. Masvidal has his own boxing promotion now. Seems like the man has already made some solid retirement plans, and he definitely knows where the money's at. So he wasted no time at all when Conor asked Aldo to a boxing match. Minutes after McGregor's tweet, Masvidal replied to him, "Let's make it happen." I wonder, shouldn't Gamebred be focusing up a little more on his fight against Gilbert Burns? This could be do or die for him at this point in his career, or maybe he's just written himself off and would rather focus on what's ahead than on his time inside the octagon. Fight clock is brought to you by Modelo. Anyway, neither Conor nor Jose responded to Jorge as yet, so it's all pretty much up in the air right now. In the fight business, nothing is done until it is. Not holding my breath on this one, but if a boxing match between these two was to happen, then Gamebred Boxing will likely be the promotion to make it happen. You see, guys, Masvidal has a good relationship with most of the guys on the UFC roster. I mean, he may have nearly murdered some of them in the past, but he's a solid stand-up dude. People know that he sticks to his word and doesn't make false promises. And there's the fact that he already got Aldo to fight for him. Just a few days ago, Junior boxed Jeremy Stevens under Gamebred's banner in an exciting 6-round bout. Match was full of action and went back and forth between the two boxers, but sadly the judges decided to call it a draw. This was particularly disappointing for the Brazilian, as he thought he did more than enough to secure the win, and to be honest, most of the fight community thought the same. Aldo's punches were more accurate, and they landed a lot more than Stevens's, so you can probably understand his frustration at the draw. That could be why he chose to go after McGregor like that.
That he's still there. It's over now. That'll do it. The King of Rio.
Not that Conor didn't deserve it. I mean, anyone who talks trash should always be ready to get a little dose of their own medicine in return, but it was a little surprising coming from Aldo, especially because last year he appeared on ConnectCast and spoke highly of the Notorious. He said that his rival was a good person because he understands the person in front of him, but he also has an amazing vision, so he knows how to sell any fight.
That's where he went in for the kill. What instincts, what finishing skills by champion Jose Aldo.
Conor, too, praised Jose and congratulated him on a stellar career after the former featherweight legend retired from the UFC. Only time will tell if this outburst from Aldo was just a misunderstanding on his part, or maybe because he was just frustrated by the result of his last boxing match. Or if something might have gone down between the two behind the scenes in the last couple of months. But for now, it looks like the bitterness is back on at least one side. Whatever may have been the reason, Aldo doesn't seem all that interested in a boxing match against Conor. He has his eyes set on Floyd Mayweather. You heard it right, guys. Junior might end up fighting the retired boxing legend sometime later this year. He told MMA Fighting's Guilherme Cruz in February that he was lining up an exhibition match against Money. So far, the negotiations are still going on, but there's been no final word on it yet. As per Cruz, Aldo said that they've been talking about this match for a long time with Floyd's team, and it's likely that it's going to happen in Saudi Arabia.
Mayweather just comes in and throws his own body shot. A beautiful right hand.
Seems as though it has been on the former UFC champ's bucket list for some time now, but it hasn't really been a priority, because he's keener on fighting professional matches rather than competing in exhibition ones. And before you guys get too excited, Conor versus Aldo is very unlikely to happen. The two of them fought more than 7 years ago as featherweights, and since then Conor moved up to lightweight and even welterweight, whereas Scarface decided to move down to bantamweight in the UFC, and the weight difference right now between them is huge. I mean, Jose fought Stevens at 147 pounds, and you all probably know how bulked up the Notorious has gotten since his injury against Dustin Poirier. The man is looking to fight at middleweight right now. That's 185 pounds.
Conor McGregor, another first-round win!
This means that Conor is almost 30 pounds heavier than his former rival, and from what I've seen and heard so far, the Irishman has no motivation to cut all that weight right now. It's really a shame, though. I would have loved to have seen these two go up against each other again. We barely got to see any action when they fought back in 2015, because Conor just knocked Junior out only 13 seconds into the fight. Some might even argue that was the fight that launched the Notorious into stardom, and made him the household name he is today in the world of MMA. For now, we can only wait and see how things play out going forward. It may seem unlikely, but you never say never when it comes to combat sports. That's all for Conor McGregor responding to backlash for calling out Jose Aldo.
The worst thing he can do is show up to this fight. There is no way around it.
Sempre minha mão em pé, mais em cima, como ele é um cara mais magrelo, tem que colocar o cara mais embaixo.